Hello, everybody. Armchair updates with a quick Week 14 breakdown. I would like to have as much time as possible to do the mid-season review with Tony. Tony's been putting a lot of work in, making some. I don't know what he's 100% what he's making. I know some of it, but I don't know all of it. He's doing some whiteboard math and making some spreadsheets, and I want to have plenty of time to sit and go over this first half of the season with him. So we're going to be pretty quick with 14 here. Let's go ahead and look at. Damn it, I did not have that ready to pull up. Terrible. Not good at segues. Go ahead and look at the standings real quick. And we had 7 teams go undefeated. We see Baltimore back in there. I remember saying, a week or two ago, whenever it was, that Baltimore will have a week where he goes 0-3, 0-2, and then he'll come back and he'll go undefeated. It seems rare that you see the O's like split a week. He's either all or nothing. You have some of the usual suspects: the Tigers, the Cubs, the Cardinals, the White Sox go undefeated. The Phillies are on a hell of a streak, and the Angels, another 3-0. The Angels, I think I said it last week, the Angels are one of the more underrated, not as talked about teams that are really kicking ass. And I know I have in the notes this week that I feel like the Cubs are not getting enough credit or respect, however you want to say it. Maybe Tony and I can get to that in the midseason review, but the Cubs continue to perform. The Cubs and the Angels both really kind of, Frank is on the Discord and stuff, and he makes a lot of deals. So the Cubs get talked about, but what it seems like I don't find myself talking about much is just how good the Cubs team has been. And when he's sitting in the division that he's in, it's easy to overlook because he's sitting there with the Cardinals and the Pirates. But the Cubs are really having a hell of a season thus far. Several teams going 2-1, so having a good week, but picking up that loss. The Jays, the Twins picking up a loss each. The Padres picking up a loss. So some top level teams. The Marlins picking up a loss, so losing a game on the Phillies, or what, half a game, right? Because the Phillies only went 2-0. Yeah. But the Pods not losing a game on the Dodgers, because the Dodgers, amazingly enough, I don't want to skip ahead. The Braves went 2-1. The Brewers went 2-1. Nice to see those guys have winning weeks. The Jays 2-1. Another top team picking up a loss. I don't know if I said that already. The Astros going 2-1. The Astros are another team that seems to really bounce back and forth at the either end of the scale. He's either going like 0-3, 0-2, or he's going 3-0, 2-0, and here he goes 2-1. The two teams split the week, and it's two higher level teams splitting the week. It's the Dodgers and the Mariners, each splitting at 1-1. So pretty rare to see a Dodger loss. So and he's not sitting completely on top of the points scored. So let's all poke Joe while he's down. This might be the worst spot we see the Dodgers in all year. He did just lose Acuna, so maybe I don't think that's going to devastate him, though, honestly. A few of us go 1-2, my Rockies, the D-backs, and the Mets. So the Mets do not pick up any ground on me in that 8 spot for the wild card, nor obviously do the D-backs. And then a surprising 0-3 from the Rays, and a pretty surprising 0-3 from the Red Sox, just how they've been playing recently. The Royals go 0-3, the Reds, the Giants, the Indians, the Nats, and the Rangers go 0-3. Really, the big surprise there, probably the Rays going 0-3. Who did the Rays play? Let's just take a look real quick. Oops, Control F, not Alt F. Who did the Rays play? The Rays played, the Pods, the Angels, and the Yankees. So we know the Yankees went 2-1, so we had a good week, and the Pods went 2-1. The Angels went 3-0. So, yeah, a tough matchup, putting up 245 and still getting 3 losses. That's a pretty tough matchup. Tough week for the Rays to go 0-3 heading into heading into the break. Those guys can regroup, play a little golf, come back, not think about how they ended the first half, because that's a tough way to end the first half. So there's your standings for 14. A lot of familiar names at the top, a lot of familiar names at the bottom, a little bit of shuffling. As I said, Tony and I are going to really get into what the first half of the season looks like, so I don't want to get too much into it, even though this was the week ending that first half. So let me go ahead and share the other stuff. What do we call it? The tidbits, whatever it is, the numbers. Your biggest margin of the week was 245.5 points, and that was Detroit over Cleveland. Cleveland, showing up a lot in these things, but we know that, we know a lot of these teams that are showing up. I say it every week, I feel now, but it kind of feels jerky not to say it. Like, I don't want to be picking on these teams, but these guys are rebuilding. They're going to get beat pretty bad especially when they play good teams. When you play Detroit, when you play Minnesota, like the Nats did, the Nats, 241.667 points. Seattle over Texas in the 3 spot, 238.833 points. Miami over Washington, 207.667, and then Pittsburgh over Texas, 206.333. So all of the top 5 over 200 points. And each of those teams, the Nats showing up twice, Texas showing up twice, and Cleveland, they're all rebuilding teams. So I'm not going to stop doing this because I've been doing it this whole time. But there's little to no, actual data or anything here. There's nothing really here. This is just something that I started doing and I'll continue doing. But I didn't think about it ahead. Like when these rebuilding teams start their rebuilding or they start their teardown and they've dumped or whatever, they're going to show up on these lists all the time. And now it's, going to be skewed. And when we get to the midseason breakdown, you'll see that the big margin win list is dominated by a handful of the same teams. And when you get to the small margin win list, almost everybody is represented. It's interesting to see this. The small margin list, both of them really have a lot of people, a lot of different teams represented. The big margin loss list has more teams represented, but the big margin win list, it's a lot of Detroits, it's a lot of Dodgers, it's a lot of Cardinals. You'll see. The smallest margin for week 14 was the Cubs over the Dodgers. So Joe's loss was by 3.5 points to the Cubs. So, not only did the Dodgers take a rare loss, but it was a rare slim loss. Did not mean to click that. And then also by 3.5 points was the Mets over Atlanta. So the one win that the Mets grabbed and the one loss that the Braves took by 3.5 points. Number 3, Detroit over Minnesota. Tough luck, Tyler. 4.166 points. So a very, very close to a rare loss for Detroit, who finishes the first half at 36-3. As we can see here, the Tigers are 36-3. Come on, that needs love, man. The Tigers are a very, very well-oiled machine right now. Number 4, the Yankees over the Mariners by 5.833 points. So Seth goes 1-1 on the week. The Dodgers go 1-1 on the week. Both of their losses were by a combined fewer than 10 points. So that's kind of tough. And number 5, Atlanta over San Francisco. So Atlanta shows up on the list twice, both on the good side and the bad side. He beats San Francisco by 12.5 points. So whereas the big margins were all greater than 200 points, the small margins, almost every one of them lower than 10. And as you can see here in the notes, on the week, there were 10 matchups decided by fewer than 30 points. So quite a few close matchups during the week to close out the first half. Your point per game for week 14, the Phillies the Phillies stepping up and taking that number one spot by a pretty wide margin, 4.66 points per game in 76 games. Number two, the White Sox at 4.34 in 71. So 4.66 down to 4.34, a decent little gulf there for the Phillies. Had a great week. Did I say anything about the? I feel like I wanted to. The Phillies show up, in the top hitting. They also show up in the top pitching. They're number 4 in both. He shows up number 1 in points per game, and he had a good amount of games as well. Didn't do it in a short stretch for him. Toronto number 3, 4.25 in 72 games. The Yankees showing up again, 4.17 in 78, and then the Royals sneaking their way randomly into a 4.15 in 42 games. And correct me if I'm wrong, the Royals went 0-3 this week, but their guys that did play averaged 4.15 points a game, but he only got 42 games out of it. So that Royals team, I feel like that's the first time we've seen them in the point per game. Just showing that it's not a team full of bums, the Royals. I feel like I know he's had some injury luck. That is Royals Mark. Let's take a look. And so he's got injured Andahar, injured Colton Wong, currently injured Blake Snell. He lost Turnbull. He's lost Soroka. Yeah, so he's had some rough luck. David Peterson is down. Mike Fiers is down. Definitely has had some luck. This is a team that I remember saying, like, at the beginning of the year, you definitely didn't want to face on and say like a playoff week, because you got DeGrom, and this is back before Snell had proven himself to be kind of awful. Yeah, he's having trouble fielding a full lineup, as evidenced by the 42 games. But, man, he had a hell of a week. Probably Mitch Haniger, maybe Judge, DeGrom, I'm sure, and maybe Ed Diaz cranking out some saves. I don't really remember what happened, but nice to see like a really fresh face in the point per game. Your point per game on the season, the Dodgers still in first place. Not a whole lot of shuffling. Pittsburgh and St. Louis shuffled. Pittsburgh now number 2. St. Louis now number 3. Kind of tight up there. 4-3-1 at the top, and then 4-2-9 for Pittsburgh, 4-2-8 for St. Louis, down to 4-2-2. The White Sox jumping up from 5th to 4th, switching places with Detroit, who goes from 4th to 5th at 4.19. And your hitting for Week 14, St. Louis. And just take a quick look at Week 13's hitting, everybody over 200 points. Week 14 hitting, 2 guys don't even make 200. Philly always there, but St. Louis 214, way less than the Week 13 top of 240 by the Dodgers. The Yankees come in here at number 2, hitting points, 206. Detroit at number 3, 201. The Phillies 198, and the Dodgers 187. The last two just under 200 points. And the pitching is quite a bit worse than it was in Week 13. The number 1 team, Minnesota, 169, nice, 0.667 points, where number 1 in Week 13 was the Dodgers at 204. Very big pitching week. But still, everybody's a little off from their Week 13 counterpart. The White Sox, number 2, 158.167. Toronto, number 3, getting back into the top 5 after taking Week 13 off at 156.33 points. Number 4, the Phillies. So number 4 hitting, number 4 pitching for the Phillies, and number 1 points per game. He had 156.167, almost number 3 in pitching, but number 4. And Seattle back in the top 5 pitching at 148.5 points. And your hitting and pitching on the season, not a whole lot changing. The White Sox jumping in the number 2 spot for pitching. Toronto going from 4 to 5, and St. Louis dropping from 2 to 5. So some shuffling, but the team's largely staying the same. And hitting stayed exactly the same. Everybody is where they were when it ended. Like I said, lower top 5 pitching than typical. The Dodgers still in the Triple Crown, leading in points per game and hitting and pitching. And Tony's 7-star teams, they were 19-5 with 3 of those 5 losses coming against fellow 7-star teams. So without that, they're 16-2. So, as if it wasn't obvious before, you want to make those 7 starts. Seems like even if they're not very good, you still want to make them. So that's very quick, 15 minutes. I'm going to get Tony in here, and we are going to go over first half stuff. And I'm allotting plenty of time to do so. So thanks for catching this. I will be back with a new one with Trading Tony pretty soon. Week 14. Go ABL.